6. The night the king could not sleep, so he ordered the book of the Chronicles, the record of his region, to be brought in and read to him. It was found recorded there that Mordecai had exposed Bigthan and Tersha, two of the king's officers who guarded the doorway, who had conspired to assassinate the king Darius. What honor and recognition that Mordecai received for this, the king asked. Nothing has been done for him. His attendants answered. The king said, "Who is in the court?" Now Hanan had just entered the outer court of the palace to speak of the king about hanging Mordecai on the gallows had escorted for him. His attendant answered, "Haman is standing in the court. Bring him in," the king ordered. When Haman entered, the king asked him what should be done for the man the king delights to honor. How Haman thought to himself, "Who is there that the king would rather honor than me?" So he answered the king, "For the man of the king delights to honor, have them bring a royal robe the king has worn and a horse the king has ridden. One of the warrior has trust placed in his head, then is the robe and the horse be entrusted to one of the king's most noble princes. Let the robe the king man the king delights to honor, and lead him on the horse through the city street, proclaiming before him, This is what the done for the man of kings delight to honor." "Go at once," the king commanded Hanan, "get the robe and the horse, and do just as he used to have suggested for Mordecai the Jew, who sits at the king's gate. Do not neglect anything you have recommended." So Hanan got the robe and the horse. He robed Mordecai and led him on the horse back through the city street, proclaiming before him, "This is what is done for the man and kings delight to honor." Afterward, Mordecai returned to the king's gate, but Hanan rushed home with his head covered in grief, and told Zeresh his wife and all his friends everything that had happened to him. His advisers and his wife Zeresh said to him, "Since Mordecai, before whom your downfall you started, is of Jewish origin, you cannot stand against him. You will surely come to ruin." While they were still talking with him, the king's inner treasures arrived and hurried Haman away from the banquet Esther had prepared. 7. So the king of Haman went to dine with Queen Esther, and as they were drinking wine, and on the second day, the king again asked, "Queen Esther, what is your petition?" "It will be given you." "What is your request?" "Even up to half of the kingdom, it will be granted." Then King Esther answered, "If I have found favor with you, O king, and if it pleases your majesty, grant me my life, this is my petition, and spare my people, this is my request. For I and my people have been sold for decoration and slaughter and annihilation, if we have merely been sold as male and female slave. I would have kept quiet, because no such distress would justify disturbing the king." King Jairus asked Queen Esther, "Who is he? Where is the man who has dared to do such thing?" Esther said, "The advisor and enemy is your Baal Hanan." Then Hanan was terrified before the king and queen, and the king got up in a rage, left his wine, and went out into the palace garden. But Haman, realizing that the king had already decided his fate, stayed behind to beg Queen Esther for his life. Just as the king returned for the palace garden to the banquet hall, Hanan was falling on the couch where Esther was residing. Then the king exclaimed, "Will he even molest the queen while she is with me in the house?" As soon as the word left the king's mouth, it covered Hanan's face. Then Hebron, one of the interested attending the king, said, "A gallows 75 feet high stands by Hanan's horses. He had it made for Mordecai, who spoke up to help the king." The king said, "Hang him on it." So they hanged Hanan on the gallows he had prepared for Mordecai. Then the king's fury subsided. 8. That same day, King Jairus gave Queen Esther the estate of Hanan, the enemy of the Jews, and Mordecai came into the Jews. And Mordecai came into the presence of the king, for Esther had told how he was related to her. The king took up his signet ring, which he had reclaimed for Hanan, and presented it to Mordecai, and Esther appointed him over Hanan's estate. Esther again pleaded with the king, falling at his feet and weeping. She begged him to put an end to the evil plan to Hanan and Agatha, which he had devised against the Jews. Then the king extended the gold scepter to Esther, and she arose and stood before him. "If it pleases the king," she said, "and if he regards me this favor and thinks it is right thing to do, and if he is pleased with me, let an order be written overruling the dispatches and Hanam, son of Hamitah, that I get despised and wrote to destroy the Jews in the king's province. Such how can I bear to see disaster fall on my people? How can I bear to see the destruction of my family? King Jairus replied unto Queen Esther and Mordecai the Jews, because Haman attacked the Jews, I have given him his estate to Esther, and they have hanged him on the gallows. Now write another decree in the king's name in behalf of the Jews, as a sin best to you, and seal it with the king's signet ring, for no document written in the king's name and sealed with his ring can be revoked. At once the royal secretary were summoned on the 23rd day of the third month, the month of Sivan. They wrote under Mordecai's order to the Jews and the satraps, governors of the nobles of 127 provinces stretching from India to Kush. These orders were written in the script of each province of the language of even each people, and also the Jews in their own script and language. Mordecai wrote in the name of King Jairus, sealed in the patches of the king's signet ring, and sent them by mounted couriers, and rode fast horses, especially bred for the king. The king's edict granted the Jews in every city of the right to assembly and protect themselves, to destroy and kill and inhabit themselves, to destroy, kill, and inhabit the army, force on the nationality or prevents that might attack them and their women and children, and to plunder the property of their enemies. This day appointed to the Jews to do this in all the provinces of the king Jairus was in the 13th day of the 12th month, the month of Adar. A copy of the text of the edict was to be issued as a law in every province of the made known to the people, to every nationality, so that the Jews would be ready on that day to avenge themselves on their enemies. The couriers riding the real horses raced out, spurred on by the king's command, and the edict was also issued in the city of Susa. Mordecai left the king's presence wearing royal garments of blue and white, a large crown of gold, and a purple robe for fine linen. And the city of Susa held a joyous celebration. For the Jews it was a time of happiness and joy, gladness and honor, in every presence and in every city. Wherever the edict of the king went, there was joy and gladness among the Jews, with fasting and celebrating, and many people of other nationality became Jews because the fear of the Jews had seized them.